the more I hear you talk, the more I keep thinking about the way we speak in America. And especially as moms, we say like, oh, my brain is all mixed up. Or like we talk about our brain as if it's our mind, right? Like my mind isn't in the game today or whatever.
Yep.
But really, it's our body. And even the phrase mental health is a little bit backward because our mental health disorders are rooted in the body. So we can't treat them from the mind. It's all body. Like, surprise, surprise, our minds and our bodies are connected.
Guess what? I know.
Thank you, my friends, for listening to the Healthy Parenting Handbook podcast. I'm Katie Kimball from Kids Cook Real Food, your host, and I'm here to connect with you today. I love bringing together experts in all sorts of fields, from health and medicine to parenting and other forms of wellness. Today's guest and I are going to talk about connection. We're going to talk about the nervous system and how we regulate and dysregulate, and really about how our childhoods have constructed the parent we are, and how sometimes we need to reprogram that parenting so that our children have a better chance at having a really regulated nervous system. Guys, oh my goodness, Ann Odom is such a fantastic, fascinating guest. I cannot wait for you to meet her. Just a little bit about our guest today. Ann Odom is a licensed child therapist, a mother of 2 children under 10, and a cycle breaker. She received a master's degree in social work from UNC Chapel Hill and is a licensed clinical social worker. She's worn many hats in her 20 years working with children and families, including community organizing and grant writing for a children's nonprofit in Haiti, investigating child abuse and neglect for her county, working in community mental health, and now creating her own private practice, working directly with parents to heal the parent-child relationship. Holy cow, that's a lot of experience. And you'll hear in this interview how it all sort of comes in and intertwines together to create the expertise that Ann brings to the table today. Ann's approach is a unique blend of somatic experiencing, don't worry, we'll define that in the interview, nervous system healing, and inner child and parts work to address the implicit memories stored in the body from our lived experience. She supports parents in understanding how this primal nervous system is meant to thrive and how to take our power back by harnessing this physiology to send signals of safety and empowerment for our healing and then our thriving. Whew, that was a mouthful, but I promise as Ann and I have our conversation that you will begin to learn and unpack all of this. And I tell you what, there's so much to learn. This may be one of those episodes you need to listen to twice. You might want to take some notes because it's just that powerful. Let's have that shared lived experience and connect together for just a few minutes here, just about an hour, with Ann Odom and I in your ears. Let's jump into the interview. Well, Ann, it is so lovely to have you here. And I think this is really important work that you do with the nervous system and regulation, because as a culture, we're pretty messy. We're pretty dysregulated, to use the big word, messy to use the word that we all are feeling. Yeah. So what's your story? Like, how did you discover this idea of nervous system work, and how did you decide to help parents specifically?
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to be here, Katie, and meet all your people. My God. So I've just been kind of insatiably curious about the human experience my whole life, and studied philosophy and social work and psychology. And, the last 20 years have just had a myriad of experiences with children and families, child protective services, therapeutic boarding schools, and then doing my private practice work with, getting really looking beneath the hood big time on families. And so while I always wanted to help children, right? I always wanted to help sweet little vulnerable, innocent children of the world. And while I was, a working professional, I had my own children, right? And so, as I like to say, I had like skin in the game. I really wanted to figure out, how do we raise healthy children, my God? Because I remember wanting to be a parent as a young adult and thinking, I don't want to be mean to my kids. I guess you have to, honestly. And my parents weren't mean to me all the time, right? Like they loved me. They provided all of my needs and more. But yet, as I started to learn more about the neuroscience and about interpersonal neurobiology, I started to realize what was missing in my childhood. And it's really hard sometimes to point a finger at what didn't happen. And I started to realize how what was invisibly working inside of me that was preventing me from being able to be the parent. And especially for me, it really showed up in my partnership and my marriage, where I started to realize we are both like smart, intelligent, hardworking people that want this family to work. And yet we are like unconsciously pinging off of each other, like our childhood wounds. The more I started to learn and the more I was living my life day to day, was really starting to realize how much my husband, especially, and I had so many unmet childhood needs that we were just seeking and missing safety and connection with each other left and right. And if this feels true to you, parent listening, you're not wrong, I think, right? Like this is so common, just the long form, invisible, previously very invalidated tentacles of what's socially normalized in the West as parenting and childhood. And especially we're recovering from the 80s and 90s. I know you talk about that too, Katie, about the table manners and the force and the control that happened at the dinner table that really prevents children from being connected to their body. Right. And the price isn't just around food and satiety and hunger cues. It's also around emotions. So as I was really, raising my children, being in my own life, being in my marriage, being in my body, and insatiably learning what it would take for me to be the best therapist I could be, I was just making all these connections in my own life around how profoundly impactful our childhoods are and how the trauma field, which does focus on the body keeps the score and the nervous system and the protective piece around our survival physiology, how that hasn't really been merged with the parenting space. It feels like they're still pretty isolated. And what I was noticing in my private practice when I worked mainly with parents and children, I started to realize, when I put all this knowledge in the hands of the parent, the child shifts in the relationship so quickly most of the time. It really baffled me. Parents are hungry for information. They're so smart, but they're not always getting the right information. I would see how quickly the child would shift. And I would see that in my own children when I mirror and attune and empathize and hold boundaries with them. They respond so quickly to that, right? Their humanity comes forward so beautifully and they learn so quickly. And yet for us adults, it's so much harder, right? And when I noticed that this wasn't quote unquote working in the therapeutic setting, it was because the parent had so many barriers and protective measures in their own body that were preventing them from being able to learn this and then do it. And man, I know that in my life too, where I knew all the things, but yet my protective physiology would hit me like a tidal wave and all that information would go out the window. And then I would feel shame and powerless and scared, and I would be scary. And I was caught in that loop in my own life, in my own ways.
And that impacted your parenting, like the way you spoke to your kids. Okay.
Or the way I would speak to their dad in front of my kids. Honestly, it was really that. And I see that in all forms. I see that, for some of us, we had a really hard childhood and we did, marry a relatively safe person, and our child is activating a lot of that trauma unconsciously. Usually the external environment will kind of activate it. Right. And so it doesn't always come in the marriage. For me, it did. And for a lot of the families I work with, it comes through like one particular child that is just activating wounding in them. And I just want everyone to know, like, if you're struggling, it means you're wounded. It doesn't mean you're bad.
Oh, I love that. That's a writer downer for sure. Well, we're going to meme that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. And that is like we're talking about how we feel in our body, and I can, like, my body and my mind are they're resonating. Like, this is so much truth coming out. And yet I have so many questions. Like, there's so much to unpack in there.
Yeah.
So first, you mentioned that you figured out as an adult, and like, I can't tell you how many times I've told interview guests, like, oh, you're addicted to learning, huh? because that's what we teachers, we people who teach others, we're like, oh,
guilty.
Should be learning. So I love that. I love that part of your story. So as you were learning as a therapist, you said you figured out what was missing in your own childhood. Mm-hmm. Can you define that specifically?
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. What was missing was attunement, acceptance of my emotional states, soothing, right? Like soothing me when a big emotion would hit that I did not choose off a menu, jealousy, anger, safety around mistake making. Right.
Oh, wow.
I think that, we know how much mothers are so earnest and eager to quote unquote get it right. And yet I can't tell them enough about how the fact that we have mistake making and punishment like intertwined in our nervous system is a real, it's so painful. It's such a struggle. And it's a real barrier to accountability, I think, because I know for me, I couldn't take one hint of criticism. I had a whole, like a lot of rage against that because I was unfairly accused of, doing things intentionally when it was just honest mistake making, learning how to be a human, impulsivity, right? Like a child naturally is learning and mistake making constantly. And then just real validation of my reality, right? Like, me experiencing something in my home. And again, it baffles me how like normal, quote unquote, normal my childhood was. And yet because of the cultural waters my parents were parenting in, this was not normalized or known. And of course they're carrying on the legacy of, what they experienced. And we're coming from unmet trauma needs in our generation, in our culture. We're coming from behaviorism, and they were doing exactly what they thought was, going to make me a healthy, happy citizen of the world. But really, events that were perceived by the child me as unsafe or scary or hurtful, I didn't have an attuned parent come back and read my physiology and see the emotions I couldn't speak yet and say, hey, are you okay? That was scary. That hurt you. That makes sense. You didn't deserve that. Right?
I feel like if I can risk distilling down what you just described, that anything negative that came out of you, whether it was an action, an emotion, words, your parents sort of pushed back in instead of allowing it to be what it was and helping you figure that out. Is that a fair distillation?
Yes, I would say that, but I want to be really careful with the words we choose because it's perceived as negative. But is it negative or is it just a response to what's occurring?
Sure. So a big emotion as opposed to a negative emotion.
Exactly. And in my world, we use like comfortable and uncomfortable emotions.
Okay.
Because we're kind of getting at that binary of good or bad.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I was parented in the 80s and 90s as well. And so I can see a lot of that reflected in my childhood. And I know I would say like I had a great childhood. I had great parents. Yeah. I didn't have big T trauma. And I think that's what you're saying too. But some of those responses and reactions from your parents are now playing out in your adult relationships and it doesn't feel as so healthy. It's not working very well.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Super fair. So hopefully that was really helpful for people. You also used a phrase, survival physiology. And I think you also maybe called it protective physiology. Are those synonyms? Okay. So explain that and how it shifts from the trauma space to the parenting space, because I want to dig into that a little bit.
Right. Well, we understand more about the nervous system than we ever have because of all the technological advances. I was just at Target and saw that 2 of the books out of the top 10 were The Body Keeps the Score and Being Raised by Emotionally Immature Parents. And I was like, okay, yes, we're learning, we're getting it. And the body doesn't just keep the score after you were serving in Vietnam, which absolutely it does. But we've got this real kind of, it takes 17 years for the culture or for the research to reach the culture. And so the lowercase t trauma absolutely has an impact. And what that looks like is, we have a nervous system working below the skin that cares about one thing the most, which is to keep you literally safe. Right. And so our survival physiology is brilliantly designed and has not caught up with the modern world we're living in. It doesn't adapt that quickly, right? And so it is designed to be operating in this kind of like calm, alert, ventral vagal state most of the time where we're connected, creative, curious, compassionate, right? Like relax, all those great states that maybe some of us haven't accessed in a really long time. And I know that was me as an adult before I did the healing work, right? Like, oh, that's how I'm supposed to be feeling all the time because I don't, right? We're supposed to be in this kind of ventral vagal calm alert state most of the time and pop in and out when our survival physiology detects a threat to our literal safety, right? And a healthy nervous system is a flexible nervous system. We're not meant to be in calm, alert, ventral vagal at all times, right? That's again, this kind of judgment that comes in of like, I got dysregulated. That was bad. I need to be calm every second. No, we need to have a flexible nervous system that can spike and then return, right? And so it's all about safety. So all the nervous system cares about is Katie safe? Is she alive? Is she going to stay alive? Is there a tiger at the door? But what happens is in this modern world, and thankfully most of us listening right now, like literally don't have actual literal threats to our safety. But yet I know that we can relate to when you're driving your car and someone cuts into your lane and you respond so fast. So the nervous system is scanning our environment 4 times a second for a perceived threat.
Good job, nervous system.
Thank you.
You're kicking butt for me. Yeah.
That's right.
Right?
Except when my husband's in a bad mood. No, but truly, I mean, or my kid's having a meltdown, right? And you notice how quickly, without you choosing, you veer your car away and you feel that kind of cortisol wash, that stress hormone just kind of dump down through your forehead. So this is how quickly and automatically and brilliant, honestly, the nervous system is at protecting us without us choosing. But what happens is, as a child, we're the most dependent species on the planet for the longest period of time. As we all know, you come into the world, your baby can't even look at you, right? Like they're so dependent. And unfortunately, in our culture, there's so many barriers to this. And again, I want every parent to listen. I want you to feel empowered and to know, maybe pull some puzzle pieces together of maybe some of your reactions, maybe some of your child's reactions. I know for me, I have not been a perfect parent. I got information too late sometimes. I mean, I've been learning on the job, just like all of us. Okay. So I want to give y'all that, but I also want everyone to understand that, the medical complex, most people, when you're having a baby coming through your body, and coming into your arms, babies grow in the arms of the parent. And the biggest job we have is to show them with our nervous system that you are safe in this world because I'm relaxed and attuned. And absolutely, there are some medical barriers to that. There are some mental health barriers to that. And we can repair that, turns out. So there is attachment nervous system work that we can do in the parent-child dyad to absolutely time travel and repair that. And that's what's so incredible about the somatic work. We really can give new information to the body. So I want you to know that's available for everyone. But I also want you to know that your child doesn't read the environment for safety cues. They read you.
That's powerful.
They read your nervous system for safety cues.
At what age does that start to shift to the environment being primary and the parent being secondary?
Yeah, the subconscious really is kind of internalized and built after age 7.
Okay.
But it's still, because of the strength of our attachment system, it is still very much at play, through the formative years and even the teen years. Our culture doesn't really value this. And this comforts me and gives me a window into a second chance. We all think about 0 to 3, that brain's building, what fires together, wires together, and also in the teen years, especially starting around 11, 10, the brain has another huge jump of development. And so it's pruning. And so what is being really focused on, maybe mirroring, attunement, emotional safety, relatability, all this beautiful stuff we can do in that time, that gets strengthened. And what is not needed gets pruned and kind of left off. And so I want everyone to also know that we can have another go to really work with the brain development that's occurring. And again, our culture doesn't quite understand the teenage brain, my God, and all the emotions that come forward through that time. But I want you to know it's another window, but there's always time. There's always time to repair and to rewire.
Right. If you know the right skills. So you've
Exactly.
touched upon a couple of things. Oh, again, so many questions. Let me try to just do 2.
Yeah.
So first, I would love for parents to understand kind of what you mean by the nervous system and a really concrete example of what that looks or feels like, sort of coming out of a person or going into it, because you're talking about attunement back and forth.
Sure.
And then these are 2 big questions, I know, but then we got to define 2. You mentioned somatic work and somatic experiencing, and that could be completely foreign term.
Sure.
For some of the audience. So we got to define that for people.
Yes. Well, the nervous system is always working. We can be sleeping, and if there's an alarm going off in our house, guess what? It wakes us up. So again, it's always on the job. And even right now. So I'm excited to be here. I want to do a good job with you and your audience, right? My cheeks are a little flushed, right? Like I'm kind of fidgeting in my chair because I've got all this like nervous energy because my nervous system is aware, okay, I can do a good job on this podcast. And if I don't say anything terrible, if I say the smart things, I could really succeed in my business and that could make me safe. And if I, like it just goes down the train of like what makes us worthy and safe always. It's interpreting what it's learned through the lifetime. Does that make sense? And so it's always working. And so I just want to bring that into like the normal conversations. My friends and I, we talk this way, like, oh, my body had a real reaction to that because it's always listening to what's happening in our people and in our lives. That nervous system, that primal nervous system has not been able to fully adapt right into the modern world where again, there aren't literal predators, right? Like there is enough food, literally. And so what it's conflated with as far as safety and non-safety is what makes us worthy and what doesn't. And a lot of that is wired and interpreted through the felt experiences of our childhood, right? Mm-hmm. And so what can really get activated is, my God, our children are now in a world and we're in a culture, wonderful, where they're safe to emote and express. And we're trying to hold space for those boundaries and validate. And yet you'll notice your nervous system for a lot of us, depending on the day, right? Depending on what happened earlier, how much food we ate, the conversation we had with our mother-in-law 30 minutes ago, that nervous system can hit you like a tidal wave. And all the wonderful things that, we learned from Dr. Becky that we agree with and we love go out the window and we're yelling and we're being scary and we can't think straight. We feel completely powerless, right? Maybe we're like, we have to bust out of the door and go in the backyard and maybe we even throw something. I mean, my God, our protective physiology is trying to get us back into a place of power and safety. And I want parents to understand that we have to work with that system and understand how it's working in us so that we can, give our body the correct and most helpful information in those moments of safety, because the nervous system is always asking, am I safe or am I not safe? And while our conscious mind, while we're regulated right now, while our full brain is fully integrated, right? Like all parts of our brain are online because we're calm and we're listening to a podcast and we're regulated and no one's yelling at us and no one's asking us for things, hopefully. We can think clearly and say, well, of course, I would never do something like that. That's not logical. That's not going to help my child if I get scary and mean and throw something. But yet when, like we're driving that car, when the nervous system detects a threat, which may be, oh, my child having a tantrum, that takes me right back to being 4 and I would get spanked for that. Right. Oh, wow. Or this huge emotion reminds me of my parent. I see this all the time, Katie. I had one parent who was volatile and unpredictable. And yeah, no one literally got hurt, but it was so scary. And I was left alone with those feelings. So now I'm a terrified 5-year-old in a grown woman's 37-year-old body.
Wow. There are so many layers to that.
I know.
Would it be fair? I kind of want to reframe the example you gave of maybe you had a conversation with the mother-in-law, right? Like you had basically something stressful happened. Mm-hmm. So your body's in fight or flight. Then you have an interaction with an unrelated human who happens to be your child. And your fight or flight fights against them, but it doesn't mean it. Is that kind of an assessment?
Yes. And we often do that with our most intimate relationships, like the ones in our household, right? Mm-hmm. And we often do that when we are in a place of power, unfortunately, right? Yeah, like, so true. It's so much easier to give pain than to feel pain. And no one taught us how to feel pain. No one taught me. And I imagine, and the parents I work with and the friendships and relationships I have in my life, that wasn't something that we were really taught how to experience that sensation and how to move through it without causing harm to others. Right.
Yeah. And you mentioned going in the backyard and throwing something. And I think this is something that my brain is just grasping, but just to try to bring this down also for my listeners. Again, if you're in the fight or flight, sure, your fight response is going at your child undeservedly,
right?
Or maybe they do kind of deserve it.
Right? Like you're still not helpful. Yes, right. Yes.
So your body needs to get that fight or flight out, and the quickest way to do that is to actually do something physical with the body.
Yes. Yeah. We're stuck in this idea of I need to be calm.
Yeah.
But no, you need to feel safe. I want to strike out the word calm with safe. How can I tell my body So that's the somatic piece, right? Like our body is like a toddler that needs to be reparented, soothed, and feel safe and seen and accepted and loved, right?
Wow.
And toddlers do this, you guys. They stomp, they scream, they feel those feels. They don't have that big brain to say, this isn't appropriate at Target. They are so embodied, right? Like they know exactly what it takes to get that emotion, that energy move through the body, like you're talking about, right? Like through the body without causing harm. And that's what I tell my parents. That's our goal. We want to all allow our emotions to move through our systems without causing harm to others. That's the goal. It's not to not have them come up. It's not to feel them. And guess what? We're going to make a lot of mistakes in that process, and then we're going to forgive. But yes, going out into the backyard and saying, and when, Dan Siegel taught us, like, name it to tame it. So when we are using language, we're reducing the intensity of the emotion by 50%. We need to do that for our own selves, and our children are watching in a very healthy, positive way of saying, I want to like tear down this house right now. I'm so angry. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to go grab that basketball and just throw it against the wall a million times. And that's going to feel really good. And this is going to get my anger out of my body in a way that doesn't hurt anybody.
Wow. So it's the old fashioned, like, go punch your pillow.
Yeah.
That was the old advice. Yeah. And that would work too. There's lots of pillows. There's lots of pillows in the world. Yeah.
Yes. We got to move it through our body, because that conversation with the mother-in-law, we still are just taking it on the chin from her. Maybe we don't know how to hold boundaries. We don't know how to soothe ourselves, and we felt jabbed or hurt or shamed. Right. And so we just stuff it down like we learned how to do as children, and we keep moving forward without ever repairing, acknowledging. Right. And then it comes out sideways.
Yes. And so I feel like you've described a lot of the issues that we adults are dripping with. So to speak, like, we're like, oops, drip, 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 drip.
Yeah.
And we're dripping on our children.
Yeah.
So what is the reverse? Like, I really want to go with like what we should do instead of what our parents didn't do. So what would positive nervous system regulatory parenting look like?
Yes.
And I know that's probably like an hour conversation in itself, but even just a couple examples of like, here's what parents really can focus on.
Yes, absolutely. And it really does require just some basic information about the nervous system. And, I very consciously give that to parents. I have a nervous system course too, that I'm like, I'm not going to be saying parasympathetic and sympathetic to y'all. We're busy. We got so much in our brains. I just want to give you enough information so that you have the basic sense of how this is working in you. But really speaking language and talking about our nervous systems and our brains and our bodies in our home, right? Because guess what? And this was exactly what I needed to be able to move into accountability and healing. It's not you, it's your protective nervous system, right? It just depersonalizes everything. So when you say to your child, hey, your nervous system, your body, and they're interchangeable, because guess what? The nervous system is in the body. So I use them interchangeably. Your body really loved that feeling of opening Christmas presents, and now there aren't any more. Yeah, of course you're frustrated, right? Because you love that feeling. That's such a good feeling. And now there's no more of that. I totally get that. So we're attuning, and we're acknowledging, and we're teaching constantly as we're living our lives about how our physiology is responding to the world without judgment, so that our child can be that expert in themselves and start to learn how to do that on their own, right? And so we do a lot of attunement. So when our children are babies, we have to attune because they can't speak, right? And so we have to read the body cues and say, oh, I'm assuming you're tired and overwhelmed because we've been out all day. We read the environment, we read their body, we hear the cry, and we make assumptions, right? And we meet the need. And then when they start talking in our culture, we kind of throw that out the window and expect them, tell me what's wrong. Tell me what you need. If only you could tell me, I would help you. Right? That's a skill that is built through attunement and mirroring and through our own ability to match language with the sensation. So we kind of stop teaching and expecting them to do it. So we need to keep teaching, even as they get older in the elementary years, and absolutely in the teenage years of, hey, I'm noticing, I'm wondering, right? I'm feeling you. You are felt, right? And so that de-escalates immediately because, I'm seen, I'm safe, because connection equals safety to the child, because the attachment relationship means safety, because I can't I can't make it on this world by myself. I'm 7 years old. The protective physiology knows if mama gets me, if mama knows how much I want that toy at Target, I am understood, right? And the world must be a bit of a safer place because she's got me and she loves me no matter what. And I can't mess this up.
Huge thank you to our podcast sponsor today, Pact. That's P-A-C-T. And Pact makes some of the most just simple, beautiful, long-lasting, organic clothing for both kids and adults. My daughter and I both love shopping at Pact. I particularly enjoy their leggings, and she likes that their stuff comes in solid colors with no words on it, so she can just be plain and simple and not stand out. Of course, I also love that it's all organic material, because if you're going to have stuff touching your body all day long, it might as well not have toxins riding along. You can get 15% off your first order with the coupon code KitchenStewardship15. Just go to kidscookrealfood.com/pact, P-A-C-T, and use the coupon code KitchenStewardship15. Do enjoy looking around at Pact, where they have a wide variety of clothing, all the way from underwear to cute dresses. Those scripts are so helpful. I felt like you were narrating for us,
Yep.
right? So the parent needs to narrate what they see and the emotions that they are pretty sure the child is feeling.
Sure.
And validate them, accept them without judgment. Super important. And then we teach them to do that for themselves.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying is that a lot of us are really bad at this because we weren't taught it when we were kids.
And not only were we not taught it, it wasn't even neutral for a lot of us. It was shamed, right? Like, how dare you? You just got all those Christmas presents. You're so spoiled. And I understand why they did it. Again, that was the level of consciousness at the time. And also, oh, well, that feeling must be bad. And what we do as children is we make these kind of unconscious contracts of, I must be bad. Because if the parent is wrong, then I can't be safe in the world. They're in charge of literally everything. Again, this is beyond our consciousness. Yeah. So we take on, I must be wrong. I must be bad. So guess what? Whenever we feel jealousy, which is a natural, normal, healthy, baked in emotion in our physiology, we feel shame about it. And we overthink it, and we decide we must be wrong and we must be bad. And we're having so much trouble as adults, I think, moving through our lives with our authenticity intact, because of all the messages, and unhelpful is an understatement, right? All the unhelpful messages that got paired with our natural, normal, healthy emotions and responses.
What I really like about your example with like at Target or with the gifts is you're not saying, parents, let them have what they want at Target. Give them more gifts. You're just saying, see them where they are.
Yep.
Understand that they're feeling some big emotions, acknowledge those, but still have boundaries of parenting where you're not giving in to everything. You're just accepting their emotion, helping them move through it. Because honestly, a 45-minute tantrum is no fun for anybody of any age in the building, right?
Right. But what I see though, and you're exactly right. Thank you. I mean, we absolutely don't. And I think that's what we think is going to happen. And I can see you anticipating the questions of your audience. You're so attuned, right? Like, but yes, it's boundaries with empathy, and you'll find how, and we're afraid that if we acknowledge and speak truth to what's happening, then we're like giving in or it will be insurmountable. But it's actually the opposite. It's inherently de-escalating when we show our child, I get it. That toy is awesome. Of course you want that, right? Like, look at it. And then we rely back on, I've learned this through my work, and, I've done a lot of de-escalation work, and I used to literally, be in trailers and having to make really hard decisions for parents. When you're not arguing against the feeling, when you say, yeah, you're mad, like of course you're mad. I'd be mad too. Of course you want that toy. I want that too. You're not against each other. You're both kind of like side by side looking at the same experience and saying, yeah, that makes you really upset. I totally get it. And yet there are rules in this world that I didn't personally create. If I got you a toy at Target, I'd love to make you happy. And I say that to my children. And now we don't have the battles as much. But in the early days, I would say, I would love to make you happy all the time and get you whatever you want. But they'd put me in parent jail if I gave you a toy every time, because that would ruin your brain. It'd make you so spoiled you wouldn't like anything. You know what I mean? Like, I get you'd like that right now, but honestly, over time, you wouldn't like anything because the brain can't handle all that pleasure. It's going to expect it all the time and then it's going to lose it so fast. So again, here I am teaching them about the brain. It's not them. It's these organs in our body, right? That we need to work with. And it's not personal. I'm not being mean. I didn't create that.
Parent jail. That parent jail is hilarious. I love how you're like the neuroscience person, like teaching her children, because we have to have a little fun with it too.
Exactly. Humor is huge.
Yeah. If our bodies don't have a little fun with parenting, we're going to break too.
Exactly. Humor is huge. And it's a huge tool of mine. I'll give this little tidbit too. Me realizing that play is language too. Play is anything unexpected. And I play mainly with my kids by being weird and silly and funny. And that is regulating for my nervous system too.
For sure. Laughter and play. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. So, Anne, I know that you have said that embodiment, that action of embodiment and nervous system health is the future of health. And you've taught us a lot, like a lot of the really philosophical, like our brains are kind of like, ow, I haven't learned this much in so long. So good for us, right? But also some really practical, some scripts we can say to our kids.
Yeah.
Tell me why you think it's going to be the future of health. Where are we going?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're starting to realize that we've got a real epidemic of adult mental illness and child mental illness on our hands. And that the old model of, supporting that through talk therapy and medication is not working. And I'm not saying it's completely ineffective. There's nuance. Absolutely. And also when we understand that so much of our, what we call, diagnoses and mental health disorders are rooted in nervous system responses to the lived experience in the body. And we really come back into the body and give new experiences to the body because it's almost magical, Katie, the work that we can do. Because guess what? When your child's freaking out and your nervous system hits you like a tidal wave and time travels you back to when you were 5 and you were about to get spanked, that's not like literally happening, right? Like you're in your living room. It's 2024. So just as the brain and the nervous system kind of work in this like imaginary realm and they make assumptions about the environment based on the input they're giving, because like a certain tone will just hit that physiology. It's like anything remotely resembling that, I will send protection in, right? So what we do instead of just, I'm going to learn that from my conscious mind. Well, your conscious mind goes out the window and gets fragmented when the nervous system takes over. Doesn't that feel true? We know that, right? And we're learning that in the context of our children. Like, yes, Dan Siegel is brilliant. And I feel like it's all like, give this to the children, teach this to the children. But guess what? We've got like wounded children inside of our bodies, right? And so when we go back into the body and we go into this kind of imaginary realm, into the insula, and we start to give the experience and imagine and start to work with the unconscious and start to proactively give the experience of what was missing, the protection. One thing that I do a lot with parents, and like I said, a lot of mamas had a scary dad who was volatile, unpredictable, and a mother who didn't know how to hold boundaries, check in on the child, and provide the felt sense of protection the child needed. And so a lot of times our children's tantrums, like I said, can really activate. And you'll hear parents say horrifying, terrifying, like those words are little flags to show objectively a 3-year-old having a tantrum isn't horrifying or terrifying necessarily, but it feels that way because the body has conflated that with an absolutely unmanageable experience the child had unaccompanied. And so we go back into that memory in the safe container of relationship with a trusted, practitioner. And then we can bring in, is there an animal, a protective animal that feels like you want to pull in to protect you, right? And oh yes, this big bear, this big black mama bear is right here with me. What are they doing? And it is incredible, Katie, how the information comes forward. We get out of the thinking brain and the subconscious tells us what's needed to repair. And it's never too late. It's incredible. Yep.
The more I hear you talk, the more I keep thinking about the way we speak in America. And especially as moms, we say like, oh, my brain is all mixed up. Or like we talk about our brain as if it's our mind. right? Like my mind isn't in the game today or whatever.
Yep.
But really, it's our body. And even the phrase mental health
I
is
know.
a little bit backward because our mental health disorders are rooted in the body. So we
Yep.
can't treat them from the mind. It's all body. Like surprise,
Yes.
surprise, our minds and our bodies are connected.
Guess what? I know.
It's so much. I really want to repeat the fact that you said if a child's tantrum feels terrifying to you,
Right.
that's probably a red flag that you have a wounded child
Yes.
inside you who needs some work. And that, I mean, whoa, parents, like let's put that out there. You know, I mean, how many of us in America know that?
Yep.
Not very many. More now. Thank you. But that's really important. And so we're going to be better parents when we work on the childhood wounds inside us.
Exactly. And it flows out because you're exactly right. We've been living from the neck up, and that's what our culture has taught us. And also that's what trauma does, because I don't feel safe in my body. And my God, you guys, I'm raising my hand right now. I've left my body. I've shamed my body. I've tried to control my body. I've hated my body. I was given so many experiences that were unmanageable. And what the body does, what's so beautiful about trauma is, 3-year-old me had an unmanageable experience without enough support. And my physiology says, this is too much for her to handle. She can't do this alone. We're going to store this in the body. We're going to put this in her hips and we'll save it for later when she has enough support. And that's why a child just can be like, I'm fine. I'm playing with a puzzle, right? It's very tragic how we've thought about children and how we haven't understood this, right? Like the experiences really do affect them. Really, really do.
Oh, we say things all the time like kids bounce back so fast. Kids are so resilient.
Yeah.
My a close family friend just had to put down their dog, and the 5-year-old boy was like, "Oh, he died."
Right.
And so we think, and like the mom and I were talking, we're like, "That's so cool how kids are so resilient." Can you tell me how we should maybe look at that situation, please, Miss Ann?
Yes, I know. I relate to that also. And yes, what will often happen is maybe later that day, your child will fall and cry a lot longer and a lot harder. Right. And, or they'll be really disorganized and really dysregulated, and it doesn't really match like what's happening in the external. And so their body wants to process that information and doesn't know how. And so we need to kind of, like I was saying, make assumptions and also have a little bit X-ray vision around, oh yeah, like we're going through this hard thing and they aren't sure. And again, they're always tracking unconsciously us to say, is mom okay? Is she able to hold this with me? And again, we don't have a lot of templates for healthy grief. We don't have a lot of templates for healthy anger release. We are still, oh my goodness, like recovering and learning how to feel our emotions. And again, I have qualms with how the parenting space is just hyper focused on the child and not acknowledged. Again, like the impact of what is happening in our bodies, the barriers to us being able to parent in the ways we want, and also the support that we freaking need and deserve. But I will say, just to be targeted more on that question, you'll just find it popping out in random places, and just assume when they're saying, I hate you, this dinner's terrible, assume they're saying, I miss Bojo and I don't know what to do with it. And you just soothe and allow and be soothing and empathic and with them of this is hard. And even though all they're talking about is the grilled cheese that was burnt and it made them so upset, you're imagining they're saying, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what's happening. I miss our dog. Where is he? And so and then maybe you can fold in, I wonder if this is about Bojo too, baby, after you've brought them a little more into their regulated state. Mm-hmm. Right. And then they might say no. And you'll go, okay. But guess what? They heard you. Yeah, they received that. Right.
And their body is feeling your body and taking on and mirroring that regulation.
Exactly.
I'm kind of projecting that situation onto teens too, because, so many parents say it's just a given, like, oh, teens are terrible. Teens are, combative. They're going to be awful to parent, blah, 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 blah. So when that teen comes home from school, screams at the parent, I think what you're saying is, it's probably not you. It's something that happened at school or the night before or on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to dig in and say, what's really going on? But we can't actually ask what's really going on because they might not be able to articulate it, depending on their age.
We got to stop that habit. I see it all the time. It's such a habit. What's wrong? Tell me. If only you could tell me. They don't know how. And it's just like, it's this idea of empathy, which again, I learned about empathy in graduate school, you guys. My God. I was like, oh, that is it. So, and little tip, if you want to Google that Brene Brown, like empathy video, it's 3 minutes long. It really illustrates what it is. It's getting on someone's level and tapping into that feeling in you, which again, a lot of us can't do. And if you can't do, healing is available for you and you deserve that. It's not more learning, it's more healing, right? But, just like when our 3-year-old's like block tower falls, and it's not logical. We can't be like, hey, you can build another one. And like, you have a bunch of block towers. It's not that big a deal. It's the feeling of disappointment. We got to zoom out of the details, right? And say, oh, you're so disappointed. You worked so hard on that. And then we tap into our own. We have that feeling too. I know what that feels like, baby. I wrote this long email, then I put so much work into it, and then it got deleted. That happened today.
You know that happened to all of us.
Yeah, right?
Looking over our shoulders, Ann Odom. That's the worst. I hate when that happens.
I know,
so
it actually
much.
happened to me recently. I thought they auto-saved all the time now, but they don't. Yes, I know. And so we tap into that feeling ourselves. And so again, yes, this is another truth bomb, you guys. It's going to help you so much, especially with those teens, but our toddlers are doing it too. And our big kids, we kind of get a break in the elementary school years, like where they're not so emotionally insane and impulsive because the growth isn't so turbocharged, right? Like, I'm in it right now. I'm like, it's coming. I know teens are coming for me, but they project. So they basically like collect all these rocks in their emotional backpack out in the world. My teacher was sick and they were rude to me. My crush has a crush on my best friend, and they're aware that like even toddlers are aware of this at preschool. They'll say they're insane at home and great at school. What's going on? Well, they're aware of like this environment is not, if they can contain it, they will. And so they don't like explode and emote in those places. They come home to the safety of our relationship, right? And then they project that feeling onto, we're out of mayonnaise. You never have what I want. What's wrong with, I love mayonnaise and blah, blah, blah. It's not about the mayonnaise, right? We got to zoom out of the details because it's not logical. It's emotional, right? Emotions are not logical. And we got to zoom out of the emotions and be like, oh, you're so disappointed, right? And there's boundary work there too, right? Because we want to show them like, I won't be mistreated here and like, all of that. But we also soothe and see them in their feeling. You're safe here, safe, seen, and soothed, right? Like, and we just zoom out of the details.
Right. Oh man.
You've been working so hard. Like you're so disappointed. I get it. That must be really hard. I'm sure I said the same thing to Lovey when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. Man, I hear ya.
These scripts are good. And you know what's so funny is really you're kind of replaying the same cadence of I feel you, I've been there, this is okay. Mm-hmm. You're using slightly different words each time, but like mm-hmm. parents, like write this down, like practice on your spouses. They won't catch on either. Trust me, like it really does work. I want to discuss, this was not on our list of questions.
Yeah.
But in our culture, it feels like it's not okay, especially for boys, but even for girls once they reach a certain age to cry, to visibly cry in public when they're disappointed. So like maybe I'm at a baseball game with 9 and 10-year-old boys and somebody strikes out and they melt, they cry.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a parent, like if that's my kid, I want to protect them from what the other kids will say. So where is that balance between saying, oh, honey, I know that was so hard. That was really frustrating and so disappointing. And your emotions are just leaking out of your eyes and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm also saying, but dude, you probably shouldn't cry in public because none of the other kids are crying in public. You know what I mean? Like, is there a safe way to help that? Or do we just need to let all our boys and girls cry all the time?
Yeah, well, that's such a good question. I mean, I think that at this point in 2024, we are dying for authenticity. Like our humanity has been like suppressed for so long. And I am amazed at the generation that's coming up and how like honest and vulnerable. We all know how good it feels to be vulnerable with someone and show our authenticity. And the children are really being raised in a different time. Our humanity like comes forward. And yes, we do live in a world where some people might judge that. but that's because they're not connected to their own humanity, right? Like some things disappoint us, and maybe our dog did die last week and that strikeout was the last straw. And baby, this world might not accept you when you cry, or this world might judge you for being a 10-year-old boy for crying, but I got you, and you can't, all of it is welcome here. And so you come over here, and yeah, that might feel weird if you notice like your friend's teasing you. They're wrong.
Okay. So
you know what I'm saying? Because it's about allowing all parts of our humanity to exist. The culture has said, this is good, this is bad. You can do this, you can't do this. And my God, men, the suppression of their emotions / their humanity, because guess what? They have all the emotions baked into their physiology as well. And we watch grown men have tantrums, right? We watch men with addictive rates and suicide rates unlike we've ever seen because they're so disconnected from themselves and therefore each other. And to the nervous system, isolation means death because we are pack animals that survived because we collaborated and worked together, which is why connection equals safety. Because I'm not like a lone like tiger in the savannah. I need you to help me and you to help me, and we all work together. And so loneliness, and we have a loneliness epidemic. Our Surgeon General has declared that as a huge, piece of his agenda, because to the nervous system, we now understand being isolated is equivalent to smoking, I believe, 2 packs of cigarettes a day to our health, because that nervous system is getting the message, I'm alone, I'm vulnerable, I could die any moment. And so that sympathetic nervous system is on overdrive, and it's eating our organs and maxing out our system. So I have a lot to say on that, but
there is so much. So, so real quick before we end, as a kids cooking teacher, like I always have to touch the food in the kitchen. Yeah. And I would love to hear some general thoughts about like what our nervous system does when we eat. Is being in the kitchen together as a family like a way for healing, or does nervous system dysregulation ever happen around food?
Oh, yes. I mean, I love your approach that, again, it's that like, it's not about the, like, I call them the logistical chess pieces. Like for you, it's not about like, oh, we'll build another tower, or, oh, we'll get you that perfect recipe that's going to make you not picky. It's about attuning to the body, providing safety and relationship, and supporting our child's natural, like, growth timeline to occur, right? And for them to edge out of their comfort zone on their own terms, because they naturally do want to explore and have new experiences. And we've provided that safety, right? I love the way you talk about that. I'll give a little tip too around food and dysregulation. Guess what? If we're eating or drinking, the nervous system gets cues. Oh, there must not be a tiger actually chasing her because she's chewing and swallowing. So a lot of times, and this can feel like rewarding, and it's not, it's co-regulating, it's soothing. If our kids lost their mind to a feeling, hey baby, let me get you, do you want like a popsicle? Do you want like a cold drink? Let's get you a fruit pack. Let's get you some gummies. Anything that they will eat, because their physiology will get the cues. Oh, well, we must not be about to die because we're eating. So that's a really important, even like a really hot beverage or a really cold beverage or something that has, just really will allow the child to like have to attune to that and like slow down to hold the hot cocoa, right? Or like, slow down to like eat the cold, popsicle or what have you. Again, we're not rewarding bad behavior. We're not conflating dysregulation with like punishment and behavior anymore. We're honoring a nervous system that's gotten beyond its capacity to regulate, and then we help regulate. So I want y'all to know that, and I want you to have that tip. It's really good, right?
That is so practical. And I think, you're saying anything the child will eat. It could be a piece of cheese. It doesn't have to be a sweet treat.
Right, exactly.
Yes. Which is good, I think, to point out that we're just saying like the actual act of chewing and swallowing, the fact that your body's taking the time to do that means you're safe. That's absolutely fascinating. Love it, love it, love it. So let's end with this. Let's talk about kind of the preventative. Like I know one of your goals is to help parents raise kids for whom nervous system health is normal, and that when they are the grownups, they don't have wounded children within them that they have to heal. So like what would be maybe 1 or 2 habits in a family culture, in a family household, to make that reality?
Well, it really does start with us, right? Because we don't do better when we know better. We actually do better when we feel safe, when we feel better. right? And so I just can't say enough about the healing work available for parents, right? Like if all of this sounds great, and if you've been, and I know those parents, my God, I love you guys. Y'all are working so hard. You're listening to all the podcasts. You're reading all the books. You care so much. And if that's still not providing a level of sustainability in your life, if you're not able to reach a level where you feel safe in your life and good about your life, and like there's a sense of like peace in there and harmony, then that tells me you've got a trauma body that needs healing, right? And so find a somatic practitioner, do some of this inner child work, and really that will allow these generous, empathic, creative, connected, playful states to naturally come forward for you without you having to choose and remember.
Because it's all in the body.
That's the deal. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of strange, right? Like that we're the parenting culture. Again, we're really moving through like into a new paradigm, I feel like, because we're understanding how much 80% of information comes from the body to the brain. And the brain is a reflection of what's happening in our bodies. And I will tell you guys, I could not be with my brain for so long. I had to be watching something, listening to something, talking, doing. I could not sit with myself. Right. And now, because I've gone back into the body and done all this work, this healing work, my brain is a good place to be. Right. Like it really is. It's a loving, safe place to be. And I want you to know that's available for you. And so I naturally am able to most of the time, right? Most of the time, be able to access my higher self and not my protected self.
Which is such a great goal for all of us, right? We don't want to bring part of ourself, or I like that phrase, the protected self. Mm-hmm. What a fantastic place to end. Yeah. And because I always like to end with that feeling of hope. And that's what you're saying, is that it's never too late. We can always reverse what's happened to us. Mm-hmm. And when we feel better, we parent better and we set our kids up for nervous system success, which is health. In their future. It's so good. Friends, find Anne at anneodom.org. She's on Instagram at The Reprogrammed Parent with periods in between. The period reprogrammed period parent. Ooh, that's really hard to say out loud. And we're just so glad. I'm so happy that you were with us. Thank you so much. I'm like feeling like calm sensations in my body. Isn't that nice?
Thank you for bringing language to the felt sensations in your body. And that is like, that's what we want to be operating in most of the time. And I tell you this, I'm only to provide that sense of safety because I found it in my body. I was not safe in my body. And the people that make us feel safe around them are the people that have found that. And we can become that because y'all, I was not that. I had to heal my way into it, and you can too. So I'm so glad to be here, Katie. Thank you. I'm so passionate about this topic, and I just want this for everyone. And if it's not working with me, I hope you work with someone else that just gives you exactly what you need and always deserves, truly.
Thank you so much, Anne. Let's all be those safe people. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Healthy Parenting Handbook podcast. I hope your brain feels fed and your heart feels full and that you feel connected, knowing that there are other parents on this journey with you. We're just trying to raise healthy, independent adults. And the next time you think, man, there is no handbook for this job. Now there is the Healthy Parenting Handbook. Look up the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please leave a review, my friends, as that helps other parents who need this information to find us. And of course, subscribe. That's a huge help. You can also look for our shorts as a reel on Instagram at Katie Kimball Kids Cook, or subscribe to the Healthy Parenting Handbook Shorts channel on YouTube. You'll get those bite-sized portions of healthy parenting advice.